Middlemarch. Middlemarch is no doubt a novel of great reputation. It is written by George Eliot, whose real name was Mary Ann Evans. It was published in 1871–1872. The main focus of the novelists in this novel is feminism, marriage, and repressed sexuality. Before reading this novel, one should keep in mind that it was written in the Victorian era where a woman was considered angel of the house. In the Victorian era, women were not allowed to get an education, to have free opinions in family life and beyond the four walls. They were not free to take part in social activities, all the basic rights like to get education, to take part in business or to have a suitable life partner. They were sent to schools to learn how to paint, how to dress, how to knit, and how to dress to look more attractive to the male sex. George Eliot, from the very beginning, was against her idealism and realism of such Victorian norms, and she tried her best to emancipate the Victorian woman from the chains of the patriarchal society. In her idealistic pursuit to have an ideal life, she, contrary to the principles of the Victorian society, started living with George Henry Lewis as his unmarried wife. She was harshly criticized, and she suffered a kind of ostracized life, but she didn't bother for the sake of having a free life. In this novel we have the main character of Dorothea, most like Eliot herself, who under her idealistic motives tries to marry a person who may understand her, as she tries to do something great in her life for the society, so she need a person who might understand her. She finds a scholar named Casaubon who is working on project, Kea to all mythologies. Dorothea, without thinking of his age as he is older enough to be her father, decides to marry her, but the marriage proves unsuccessful as Casaubon is a kind of selfish person having no importance for his wife. In this way, Dorothea fails in her idealism to have a perfect marriage life. A person, Lady Swaff, who is the cousin of Casaubon, comes in Dorothea's life. They both attract each other, and Dorothea thinks that Law understands her better than her husband. Casaubon is mindful of their relationship, and when finally his death hours come near, he writes a will with the instruction that if Dorothea marries Law, she will get nothing from the inheritance he is going to leave for her. When he dies, Dorothea, knowing the fact of losing the inheritance, marries Law and starts living a happy life. Here, Eliot tries to tell us that marriage might be the end of romance in Jane Austen's novels or in Hollywood movies, but not in real life. Dorothea fails in her marriage life because the external world is not compatible with her ideal world. Marriage is a careful decision and should be taken carefully. Casaubon in the novel represents a typical Victorian man, and with him Dorothea, sexuality is repressed because he has no time to spare for, and it is well illustrated in their honeymoon visit to Rome, where he is most of the time busy in the Vatican library for his research work without having time for his new bride. Dorothea is an anti-Victorian woman who goes against the conventions of the Victorian society, as she is not interested in how to dress well or to wear fancy clothes. She wants to do something great which was expected from a male sex in that era. And finally, her two marriages of her own choice is biographical of George Eliot herself. There are other characters and stories in the novel, like the story of Rosamond and Lady Gat and the story of Mary and Fred. Htt. By Usman Khan.